The stars have aligned, the cosmic wheels are in motion, and destiny now approaches with thunderous intent. Somewhere in the stillness of midnight, someone walks the floor, restless and tormented, haunted by the choices they made and the wrongs they've inflicted upon you. Sleep evades them. Peace has long departed, and their mind spins with relentless flashbacks, replaying every word spoken against you, every act of betrayal carried out in blind ignorance. Mark these words. They are going to reach out to you, not at some distant time or in a vague future, but soon. The weight of their mistake is becoming unbearable, pressing down on their spirit like a storm with every hour that passes. The phone will ring, a message will appear, an unexpected encounter will unfold, and when it does, you must be prepared, because this isn't some random moment or an accidental reconnection. This is cosmic justice playing out on the divine stage of existence. The web that was spun around you was no ordinary trap. It was intricate and deliberate, woven by both visible and invisible hands. Those close to them, voices they trusted, whispered venom in their ears. "Stay away," they urged. "That person is dangerous. They'll hurt you," they warned. These cautions didn't come from truth, but from fear. Still, those words took root, sinking deep into the soil of their own insecurities. Without hesitation, without investigating the truth for themselves, they accepted these lies. They gave no room for doubt, no dignity of understanding, and no grace to your intentions. Quick pause, family. If this message is resonating deeply with your spirit and you feel called to support this sacred work, you're welcome to buy me a coffee. Your support keeps this space alive with truth, light, and divine clarity. Link is in the description. Let's continue. They bought into the story that others authored, a story that cast you as the villain, as a threat, as someone unworthy of loyalty or compassion. This trap was set with chilling precision. Their own fears became fertile ground where toxic beliefs grew unchecked, turning into harsh judgments against you. But here's the truth they failed to see. Their betrayal was not a simple misstep. It was orchestrated by higher forces threatened by the brilliance of your light. The connection between you two was not severed by chance. It was deliberately dismantled. Those in the shadows, terrified of the power you two could wield together, pulled the strings and whispered falsehoods with surgical accuracy. What they feared was not you, but what your union represented: authentic power, unshakable truth, and divine alignment. Hidden manipulators influence the narrative, and now at last, the veil begins to lift. The puppets are starting to recognize their strings and question the origin of the voice that has echoed in their minds all this time. They're beginning to see it now. The manipulation, the deception, the invisible influence that turned them against you. But this awakening doesn't arrive with softness or ease. It crashes in with the weight of revelation, tearing down their comfortable illusions and demanding truth where lies once ruled. Their regret is not some fleeting guilt or shallow apology. It's a consuming fire. It rages within them, scorching through their chest like stellar flame, burning away the falsehoods they once clung to, and leaving only the raw, unforgiving truth of their betrayal. Each wave of clarity intensifies the burn. Every new realization of how deeply they wronged you adds fuel to the internal firestorm that will not be silenced. They wake up with your name still lingering on their lips. Their hands instinctively reach for their phone a dozen times a day, fingers hesitating over messages they cannot yet bring themselves to send. They drive past places etched with memories of you, and the ache of those recollections cuts deeper each time. They see your face in strangers, hear your laughter in rooms you've never entered. Your absence has become the most dominant presence in their life, a haunting void that defines everything around it. When they betrayed you, they expected your collapse. They believed you would fall apart, come crawling back, desperate for their validation. That expectation alone exposed how little they ever truly understood you. They never grasped the strength buried in your core, the power that had nothing to do with them. But what happened instead? You rose, you expanded, you became more. Every obstacle they threw in your path transformed into a stepping stone. Every door they slammed shut led you to a new, higher opening. Every rejection, every dismissal, every cruel word became the pressure that forged you into your highest self. You didn't just survive, you transmuted. You turned pain into purpose, betrayal into boundaries, and loss into liberation. Your endings became your evolution. And while they pretended not to watch, they saw it all. They witnessed your growth from afar, trying to explain it away with stories about luck, deception, or surface-level success. Anything that would help them avoid facing the reality of their mistake. But deep down, they knew. They knew the truth. The fire they tried to use to destroy you ended up forging something divine. Like a phoenix reborn from galactic flame, you emerged not as a victim but as a force, unshakable, refined, untouchable. That same fire didn't consume you. It burned away every lie, every limitation, every version of you that was too small to contain your destiny. And now, they stand in the ashes, watching you soar, realizing too late the magnitude of their miscalculation. They didn't just misjudge a person. They underestimated a cosmic force, a soul protected by powers their minds can't even comprehend. The truth crashes into them with undeniable weight. In trying to diminish you, they only revealed how small their understanding truly was. In trying to bring you down, all they really did was expose the smallness of their own understanding. What happened between you was never just about human emotions or petty conflict. It was spiritual warfare disguised as relational drama. The battlefield extended far beyond what the eyes could see, into realms where eternal forces of light and shadow waged their timeless battle. What looked like a breakup, a falling out, a sudden coldness, was actually a ripple on the surface of a much deeper current. While they remained caught up in surface-level appearances and ego-driven dynamics, they failed to recognize the spiritual dimension behind it all. They couldn't see the truth. As they were consumed by appearances, status, opinions, and fear of judgment, they missed the greater reality unfolding all around you both. Forces of deception, confusion, and energetic interference worked overtime to block their vision, amplifying doubt, clouding clarity, and whispering just enough fear to pull them away. These forces feared what might happen if they stood by you, if they remained loyal to your energy. The potential of your combined light was too powerful, too aligned, too divine. So, interference was carefully planted. Subtle misunderstandings, magnified emotions, and critical moments filled with distortion and doubt. It was all designed to sever the bond. But now something has shifted. The veil begins to lift. Like the first rays of morning after a long, dark night, clarity begins to seep in. Their spiritual eyes start to open and they finally begin to recognize what's always been true. The synchronicities that once felt like coincidence now pulse with unmistakable meaning. The timing of your meeting no longer feels random. It was divine, orchestrated by higher forces aligned with sacred purpose. Their spiritual amnesia starts to fade, and what their soul has always known about you reawakens. They see the truth, not just about who you are, but about what you represented to them and the role they played in breaking something that was never meant to be broken. This awakening shakes them to the core. Every belief they held, every decision they justified, begins to crumble beneath the weight of revelation. The urgency to reconnect grows stronger with each passing insight. They now realize this isn't just about healing emotions. It's about restoring something sacred. Time, once taken for granted, now feels like it's slipping away, each moment carrying the weight of what's been lost. The need to make it right is no longer just emotional. It has become a spiritual imperative. Right now, they are stuck in that fragile space between longing and fear. Their fingers hover over keyboards, messages written and erased over and over again. Their heart races at the thought of hearing your voice. Sweat beads at the thought of standing before you, knowing what they did. What could they even say? Words, once their tool for control and defense, now feel painfully inadequate. The typical language of apology, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," feels rehearsed and shallow in the face of something this vast. They know now that this isn't a wound words alone can heal. The betrayal they participated in crossed beyond emotional pain into spiritual violation. And in that realm, different laws govern. Verbal acknowledgement is only the beginning. Energetic restoration is required. They understand this now. No excuse can erase what they did. There was no misunderstanding that forced their hand, no circumstance that truly justified their betrayal. The truth is, they made a choice. They chose comfort over courage. They chose to align with lies instead of standing with truth. And that truth haunts them now, because it wasn't ignorance, it was willful blindness. They traded something sacred and authentic connection for the ease of comfortable conformity. And now, they live in the echo of that decision. They've rehearsed 1,000 opening lines in their head, trying to find the right words to say to you, but none of them are enough. Each sentence falls short. Each imagined apology feels hollow against the magnitude of what they did. Messages are written and erased. Speeches are crafted but never spoken. Because the truth is, there are no words capable of making this right. They know it. They know they have to fix this. They know that healing won't begin until they face you, until they acknowledge the cosmic wrong they played a part in. But the sheer weight of that task feels unbearable. The spiritual consequences press on them harder every day. The unresolved karma is no longer just energetic, it's manifesting physically. Their relationships strain under invisible pressure, opportunities dry up, and even their body begins to react to the dissonance they carry. They ask themselves, would you even listen? Could you give them a single minute of your time? Or did they burn every bridge, cross every line, leave no path back? These questions torment them in the silence of the night. And yet, despite the doubt, the inner pull to reach out to you only grows stronger. It's not just guilt, it's a spiritual compulsion. Some unseen force is guiding them, nudging them, pushing them toward you. It's the same mysterious force that has always orchestrated the most sacred reunions across space and time. They feel it as a kind of gravitational pull, subtle yet undeniable. It draws them back into your orbit no matter how much their mind protests. And you must see this for what it is. The universe never moves randomly. Everything unfolds on a timeline more perfect than we can comprehend. And that timeline is accelerating. What was once destined to happen over months now collapses into days. The urgency intensifies not because of desperation, but because there is a higher purpose waiting on the other side of this reconnection, something bigger than both of you. They feel it in their bones, waking up at 3:33 a.m., drenched in the memory of you, your face vivid in their mind's eye. These aren't just dreams, they're spiritual broadcasts. Your name echoes through random conversations, appears in books, flashes across street signs and digital screens. The synchronicities are relentless. Patterns repeat with mathematical precision, and eventually even they can't deny that these are not coincidences. They are cosmic breadcrumbs, divine signals lighting the path back to you. The universe is speaking, and its language is clear. This connection must be restored. Now pause. Yes, you. This message isn't meant for everyone, and that's okay. If it doesn't resonate, feel free to move along. But if something inside you stirred, if you felt this message pulse through your soul like a secret only you were meant to hear, then you already know. This is for the ones who never quite fit in, the ones who see beyond the veil, the ones who've been told to tone it down, stay quiet, conform, but never could. You weren't made for the ordinary. You didn't come here to play by someone else's rules. They are the light that cuts through darkness, the storm that shatters illusions, the unshakable presence that doesn't bend to pressure. They are the unstoppable force, the untouchable essence that cannot be diluted by opinion or circumstance. While the world spins in circles chasing trends, they walk a path entirely their own, alone if they must, not for attention, not for validation, but because this path is etched into the very core of who they are. Here's to the ones who take what was meant to destroy them and forge it into something divine. The ones who carry wisdom that can't be taught, only earned through fire, silence, and soul-deep struggle. And now, the tables have turned. Those who once stood in judgment now approach with lowered heads, arriving as supplicants before your throne of self-possession. They come exposed, stripped of illusion, fully aware of the role they played. Meanwhile, you remain elevated, not through vengeance, but through alignment with truth. The polarity shift between you is not the result of ego or revenge. It is the natural outcome of living authentically in a world ruled by manipulation. Without effort, you have become the standard they can no longer reach without transformation. And so the question rises, heavy with sacred weight. Do they deserve access to you again? This is no longer about forgiveness, it's about discernment. Because access to you is not a casual offering. It is a sacred privilege, something they once treated as common, disposable, as if your presence could be tossed aside without consequence. Now they must face what they ignored. Your energy is not a public commodity. It is a divine currency, and proximity to it must be earned, not assumed. Have they truly awakened to the depth of their error? Or is this desire to reconnect born out of discomfort, a selfish need to soothe guilt rather than repair what was broken? That distinction matters. True remorse centers the one who is wounded. False remorse centers the one who caused the wound. Real healing begins only when they show up with full honesty, stripped of performance, ego, or the desire to manipulate. If they still cling to fragments of deception, if they bring you a carefully edited narrative to protect themselves, they only continue the betrayal in more subtle ways. Any attempt to return without full accountability is not reconciliation. It's a rerun of the past. Have they cut ties with the voices that poisoned their perception of you? Or do they still linger in those webs of influence, quietly tethered to people who once cheered their betrayal? Because true liberation requires a clean break from the forces that twisted truth. Remaining connected to those who slandered your name only guarantees that betrayal will repeat itself. Are they prepared to face the full truth of what happened between you? Not just in words, but in deep energetic acknowledgement. Half-hearted apologies and surface-level gestures only delay the healing process. Spiritual wounds cannot be treated with band-aids of politeness or vague regrets. Without depth, there is no true restoration. Token admissions only create illusions of peace while leaving the original wounds wide open beneath the surface. And now, you hold the keys. You decide whether this chapter reopens or closes for good. This isn't punishment, this isn't vengeance. This is cosmic law, the principle that trust, once broken, must be earned again, never demanded. They feel this law now, not as theory, but as reality. The roles have reversed. The one who once walked away with ease now waits, silently, for the door they once slammed shut to be opened again. The one who once withheld approval now hopes for a single glance in return. Now the very person who once turned their back on you seeks your presence with desperate hunger. What they once dismissed, they now crave with an intensity they can barely contain. And this isn't just about emotion. It's energetic, spiritual. Everything in the universe is governed by cycles, and all energy, without exception, returns to its source. That is law. Nothing escapes the gravitational pull of divine balance. What was sent out must return. What was scattered must regroup. What was broken must seek wholeness again. This applies not only to personal relationships, but to spiritual ties, soul contracts, karmic balances. Everything that once held energetic significance must complete its cycle. Their return to you is not an anomaly or some emotional whim. It is the inevitable outcome of spiritual law in motion. From the moment they turned away, the seeds of this reconnection were planted. That choice, the rejection, the betrayal, the abandonment, didn't just hurt you. It set into motion a karmic debt that the universe itself demands be repaid. It created a spiritual imbalance, and every imbalance must one day be corrected. Just as nature restores equilibrium after disruption, so too does the cosmos ensure that all unresolved energy finds its way back to completion. Every soul must answer for the vibration they emit, and in their denial of your truth, they invited the consequences of spiritual reckoning. This return was always destined. The only variables were time and method. The reunion could not occur while you still sought their validation or yearned for their recognition. That would have distorted the power dynamics and interfered with your evolution. So the universe waited until you no longer needed them to define your worth, until you stood whole, grounded, sovereign, until you became the version of yourself who could receive this encounter not from longing but from clarity. The orchestration behind this moment is not rooted in human desire but in divine timing, timing that aligns with purpose, not preference. And as they prepare to reach out, something deep within them begins to unravel. What they thought they knew collapses under the weight of truth. Everything they were told about you, everything they believed, was backward. The narrative that once seemed so convincing is now exposed as deliberate distortion. This isn't just about misunderstanding. This is about manipulation. It becomes painfully clear that they were kept in the dark for a reason. That the truth of who you are, your light, your strength, your role in their life, was hidden from them by those who feared what that recognition would unlock. They begin to see it all now. Where they were warned that you were dangerous, they now see that you were protective. Where they once believed you were controlling, they now realize your boundaries were containers of truth, structures that made authentic connection possible. What they interpreted as manipulation was actually rare honesty, the kind most people fear because it forces growth. You weren't trying to dominate their freedom. You were offering something safer than they'd ever known. Unconditional truth with sacred structure. And that truth is beginning to echo in their soul like a forgotten song returning to memory. The great reversal has begun, and in its wake, they are left to face the one thing they avoided all along: your truth, unfiltered, unapologetic, unmistakable. The words you once spoke, words born of truth, insight, and genuine care, were twisted into accusations of manipulation by those still clinging to comfortable deception. You didn't play their social games, didn't nod along to falsehoods, and for that they labeled you calculating. But the reality was far from what they claimed. You weren't strategizing for control. You were standing in your authentic voice. Where they saw selfishness, you were offering from a place of purity. Your refusal to exhaust yourself for the sake of others was branded as self-centered only by those who had grown accustomed to exploiting your energy and calling it love. The boundaries you established, measured, sacred, and necessary, were seen as emotional distance by those who lacked the capacity to honor limits. They couldn't understand your light because it was too pure, too penetrating. You reflected back to them what they weren't ready to see. Their discomfort in your presence wasn't about anything you lacked. It was about the contrast between your authenticity and their devotion to false identities. Your presence disturbed their illusions. Your clarity exposed the shadows they spent years hiding beneath charm, roles, and ego. So rather than face their own inner distortions, they turned you into the problem. You became the mirror they couldn't bear to look into. Now that mirror is returning, and this time they cannot look away. The understanding hits them not gently, not like a sunrise, but with the searing intensity of revelation. It's blinding, disorienting. If they were so catastrophically wrong about you, what else might they have misjudged? If the very foundation of their perception was built on distortion, then how many other beliefs must now be questioned? This unraveling shakes them to their core. And that's why the urge to reach out to you has become so strong. It's not just about apologizing. It's about confirming what they are only beginning to understand, that everything they believed about you was inverted, a deliberate inversion of truth. They need to see you again, to hear your voice, to feel the frequency of your presence. They need this not for closure but for confirmation, that the shift within them is real, that the world they're waking into is not a dream. Prepare yourself. The contact is imminent. A message, a call, a chance encounter that is anything but accidental. The universe, in its meticulous design, has been orchestrating this moment with sacred precision. When it comes, you will know. You'll feel it in your bones, that this is the exact moment these words were pointing to all along. There is no randomness here. The universal forces accelerating awakenings on a global scale are ensuring that certain reunions take place at key moments. This one has been written in the soul contracts long before your incarnations. Even the exact time of day, the setting, the small details surrounding the reconnection, each carries weight, symbolism, and cosmic intent. They will appear just when you finally let go, when the hope has dissolved into peace, when you've stopped checking your phone or wondering what if. That is when they will come. Because spiritual law always honors the surrender. What is released returns in its truest form. What is grasped with desperation escapes like smoke through fingers, and in that sacred moment you will be faced with a choice, a decision that echoes across timelines, dimensions, and soul histories, to engage or to decline, to open your heart or to protect your peace, to listen or to remain silent. And this choice is yours, fully and completely. Not from guilt, not from manipulation, not because it's the right thing to do, but from sovereignty. No cosmic principle demands that you forgive. No divine law requires reconciliation. Free will is honored even by the highest realms. But know this: whatever you choose carries cosmic consequences, not in the form of punishment, but in the shaping of realities. This isn't just about you and them. It's about the collective. Every personal healing has ripple effects in the wider human field. Every choice made from truth or fear contributes to the vibration of this planet. Your decision becomes a thread woven into the tapestry of collective evolution. And so, remember, you owe them nothing, not your time, not your energy, not your understanding. The only being to whom you owe allegiance is your highest self and the divine mission you came here to fulfill. Let that alignment be your compass. Let your inner truth be the guide. When they finally gather the courage to come forward, you will be ready. Not because you waited, but because you grew. The wheel turns, the scales balance, and the spiritual accounting reaches its moment of reckoning. They are going to contact you, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever be the same again. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten wisdom.